Okay, so this is gonna be a shameless handjob of a video, because Doom Eternal deserves it. Sure, this video is gonna make me look like a corporate shill, but you know what? That's because I am. Bethesda didn't write me a check exactly, but they did give me a free copy of Skyrim for the PlayStation 5. I'm just gonna throw all objectivity out the window. Does this game have flaws? Of course, but honestly, I don't give a shit.
How embarrassing for you.
I know.
This isn't just more Doom 2016, it's longer, yeah, but it's a refinement. It's smarter. When you watch developer interviews of id around the release of Doom 2016, which I'm henceforth gonna refer to as Doom 4 because I'm getting pretty fucking sick of calling it 2016 just because id neglected to give it a decent fucking title, they often refer to the combat as push-forward combat.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
Id lied to us. Doom 4 had runaround combat, backtrack combat. Sure, the game encouraged you to stay close to the enemy so that you could crack open their skulls and slurp up that sweet, sweet health, but you were being pursued. You were not pursuing. Run around, blast the super shotgun, stagger enemy, glory kill, repeat. It was great, but it was mindless. It was a mindless shooter.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
Some of my favorite games are mindless shooters. But what's so impressive to me about Doom Eternal is that it looks like a mindless shooter. But it's a mindful shooter. I mean, some shooters are more shameless about it, but really, they're just about all mindless. You can add in complex dialogue or set pieces or even great stories, but at the end of the day, the gameplay is just click on the bad guys. But in Doom Eternal, every enemy is a decision. Just shoot them the way God intended, glory kill them for health, set them on fire for armor, freeze them then set them on fire so that you can get even more armor, target their weapons to cripple their offense, get them all in one area and frag them, use a super weapon on a super heavy demon before they feed you your own bones, hit them with the old chainsaw for that shotgun ammo because every weapon other than the super shotgun is for cowards, shoot. Glory kill, fire, freeze, frag, target, super weapons. Every offensive ability you have in this game makes sense and has a specific function in the core combat loop. It is fucking masterful design. Except for Blood Punch, I have no idea why that's here. What do you expect from a video game sequel? Bigger and better. The thing is, as I say in my Tinder bio, bigger is overrated. As games' budgets have become progressively more ridiculous over the years, a problem has emerged. Now, I haven't mentioned this in my videos for a few reasons, but I'm actually an airman in the US Air Force. If you write "thank you for your service" or some shit like that in the comments, I will drone strike your house. I don't do shit. I don't want to get into the specifics, but with my job, the only danger to my life is my ever-expanding waistline.
Rank is not a reward, it's a challenge.
Anyway, recently my unit was given over $1 million and was told to spend it within a week. That's good, right? Wrong. It was a lot of fucking money with very little time to spend it. Sure, money in your bank account is great, but money in an organization creates an obligation. You can't just have it, you gotta turn it into something useful. AAA publishers seem to have run into a similar issue as they've gotten way too good at ripping people off. What the fuck are you gonna make with all that money that you stole from children? Sure, you can do some blow, plow some ladyboys, and call it a lunch meeting, as is corporate tradition, but there's still gonna be a lot left over. You've been given a Scrooge McDuck vault filled with blood-stained money and been told to make a video game with it. Since you have enough money to end world hunger and buy everyone a $5 blowjob while you're at it, it feels like it would be a waste to make a game about just one thing. But the games that sell best are games that are just about murdering hordes of enemies, so what do? You make your game just about killing bad guys, but you give the player a million ways in which to do that. Killing the bad guys is not a complicated problem. Bullet plus head equals good clean fun. This is a good formula, although my therapist disagrees. I assume some people must like this play the game your way design, but I find it to be messy. If you give the player a million ways to do something, then you can't really ensure that each of the ways is actually fun. It's like having a nail in a board. The game tells you to hammer in the nail, which is a simple problem, but then the game gives you a dozen hammers of varying quality. Each of them does the same thing in the end, so why didn't they just give you a single good hammer? I think Far Cry stands as a good example of this bloated design. In Far Cry 3, you got a bunch of bastards that you need to turn into dead bastards. Simple enough. You have two options: shoot them or sneak around and stab them. Both are fine, and more importantly, both are fun. Now, just a few games later in Far Cry 5, you can shoot them, you can sneak around and stab them, you can get an attack helicopter, you can get an attack plane, you can use your follower to kill them, you can throw bait and get a predator to kill them. How many of these things are fun? Your mileage may vary, but I find the attack helicopter and plane to control like shit, and using your follower or your furry friends to kill them is fucking boring, because why would I play a Far Cry game to watch someone else do all the murders? That's not fun. If I want to watch someone die, I'll go to live leaks. And if I want to commit consequence-free murder, I'll sand off my fingerprints and remove the teeth from my victims so they can't be identified. I play Far Cry. So I know what you're thinking. So what? You can still shoot the enemies or do takedowns just like in Far Cry 3. You can ignore the other options and play the game the way that you want. This makes sense on the surface. However, you're also wrong and stupid because this is my YouTube video and I'm pushing a narrative, so you should shut up. The real problem is that if you hadn't already played Far Cry 3 and therefore already knew how to have fun with the game like I had, you may play with the vehicles or just use the NPCs to kill the enemies like some sort of pussy that doesn't enjoy indulging in constant simulated violence. Putting in ways to play your game that aren't fun purely because your budget is sickeningly huge and you gotta spend it on something buries what was originally a fun combat system under layers of boring filler.
We are here to do a job, not channel Scrooge McDuck.
Another issue with Far Cry's sandbox-style approach is that the game won't punish you for playing these ways. If I got in a helicopter and taped down the left mouse button and the W key on my keyboard, then left the game running for a few hours, the game would probably beat itself. These ways to play the game that aren't fun are also incredibly easy. Therefore, the game actually incentivizes you to play in a way that's about as fun as trying to break a car window with your flaccid dick. But where most bloated, modern games give you a nail, a board, and a dozen hammers, Doom Eternal gives you a toolbox and tells you to build a gazebo. Doom Eternal is a big game with a lot of ways to dispatch your enemies. Having a lot of tools at your disposal works in Doom Eternal because the game's combat system is demanding enough to make you use them, and they each have a different purpose. You've got a bunch of abilities and enemies and weapons, and yet they each have their place. This is a game that doesn't suffer from its scale. Far Cry 5 has a few types of enemies, all of which have one specific weakness that only pro gamers like me know about. Bullets. But in Doom Eternal, there are 21 fucking enemy types, not including bosses. Sure, you can try to play the game your way and kill them all with one gun.
That sign can't stop me because I can't read.
But it's not gonna go well for you. If you need to saw a board in half for that gazebo you're building, you're not gonna use a hammer. You can't target weak points with a super shotgun, or effectively farm armor with the ballista, or quickly break shields with any of the non-plasma guns, or listen, you get the fucking idea. Use the right tool for the job. And what impresses me even more than the intelligent and varied enemy design is the fact that every weapon you do have maintains its usefulness throughout the entirety of the game. The second weapon you're given in Doom Eternal is the heavy cannon, which is fine. It's a machine gun, it does its job. But later you're given the minigun, which uses the same ammo, does more damage, and is fucking sick because it's a minigun. So the heavy cannon is now useless, right? It just takes up a spot in your inventory for no reason, right?
You fool! You absolute buffoon!
I'm still whipping out the heavy cannon all the way into the final level. Why? Because of the weapon mod that allows you to zoom in and target weak points, which is key to success at higher difficulties. I could also use the ballista for that purpose, but it's a bit too slow and I often miss because I suck. But what about the very first weapon you're given in Doom Eternal? The combat shotgun. Surely you're not using that late game. I mean, you get the super shotgun just a few levels in. It's got a grappling hook and double the barrels for double the fun. The starting shotgun should be gathering dust in the Slayer's man cave by the time you're fighting the Icon of Sin. But nope. Once again, the shotgun has a weapon mod that can do one thing that the super shotgun can't. This is the way to kill this one specific demon. The second you see a cacodemon, you're whipping out that shotgun and grinning ear to ear, because not only is the animation funny, it's a guaranteed glory kill, is very satisfying, and ruthlessly fast. You know the starting pistol in Doom 2016? Did you use that after getting the shotgun literally like 5 minutes later? No, you didn't. Because it has all the stopping power of a super soaker and sounds about as satisfying as a ruined orgasm. Well, I guess the guy that did an Ultra Nightmare run with just the pistol kept using it. I seriously can't decide if this guy is a genius, an idiot, or just a fucking masochist. At the end of the day, the starting pistol in Doom 2016 just wasn't fun. So why was it there? Because you're supposed to start with a pistol and a shooter, I guess? I mean, it has infinite ammo, so it's not like id just threw it in there for no reason. You needed something to fall back on because you can run out of ammo pretty easily in the first few levels. But why have a weak gun with infinite ammo when you could have an infinite chainsaw that turns enemies into ammo piñatas?
Oh, fuck man! Shit!
With most huge games, things slip through the cracks. Things are there just to be there. But Doom Eternal feels so intentional. You know how the Terrace Nabad level is where the Archville demon first appears? A super heavy demon that needs to be killed as soon as possible because the longer it's alive, the more buffed demons it spawns? He basically causes you to whip out the BFG every time he shows up and makes you think, damn, I wish there was a way for me to single him out and insta-kill him before he spawns in SEAL Team 666 to stomp my ass. Then, boom. End of the level, the Crucible. A super weapon that insta-kills any demon that isn't a boss. Honestly, for me, the Crucible is just an Archville killer. The game establishes that the Archville is not to be fucked with, needs a super weapon to be dealt with effectively, then presents the Rock to his scissors in the hyper-violent rock-paper-scissors match that is Eternal's combat system. The game presented you with a problem. That problem being, you still need to slap a roof on the gazebo because otherwise it's just a goddamn octagonal patio. The game waited for you to stack up some boxes so you could get up there on your own and think like some idiot in an infomercial, there must be a better way. Then, it gives you a ladder. Even the goddamn bullet fodder enemies, which exist in every game just to pad out the runtime, have a distinct function in Eternal's combat loop. They're just walking health, ammo, and armor containers. If you remove the easy enemies from most games, there wouldn't be much of a game left. You'd be able to beat Pokemon in like 3 minutes if you removed the easy random encounters. But if you removed the easy enemies from Doom, you wouldn't be able to beat the game at all. Trying to play this game without all these angry health packs walking around would be more difficult than getting laid in a battered woman's shelter. A big problem I have with game critics, other than their general corporate whorishness, is that they talk about annoying aspects of games without considering why they're there. If something is a little irritating, but it pushes you into playing the game in a much more fun way, it's a good inclusion. Running out of ammo all the time is irritating. Your melee doing no damage is irritating. Enemies curb stomping you if you try to spam your preferred weapon is irritating. These are things that make you have a little angry video game nerd moment. What were they thinking? When I first played Eternal, I resented these things. Especially the fact that the game didn't let me just run around with a super shotgun like Doom 4 did. Why couldn't I do that? Why couldn't I play the game the way that I wanted? Because the way I wanted wasn't really that fun.
It's time to let old things die.
Please don't go this way.
No, you're still holding on! Let go!
No Clip is a YouTube channel that everyone that has even a passing interest in game design should watch because you get a very unfiltered, first-hand perspective on the process. Often in interviews, a developer's just plugging their game. They talk about what's going to be in it, or they lie about what's going to be in it. But Hugo Martin in this interview is very forthcoming with where he thought id failed in Doom 4. They saw what I thought was the way to play the game as boring and repetitive, and it sorta is. I enjoyed Doom 4, but the last few missions always felt like a slog, because I was just doing the same thing over and over and over. The game allowed me to play in a way that was fun, sure, but it wasn't that fun, particularly when there's nothing there to break it up. My first 10 hours with Doom Eternal were frustrating, because I was trying to keep blasting enemies with a super shotgun, not using every tool at my disposal, and running out of ammo all the time for the one gun that I did use. I was being stubborn, and not adapting to the new combat in Eternal, so the game would kill me.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
It wasn't until I let old things die that I started to have way more fun than I ever had with Doom 4. I could have had as much fun with Doom 4 as I've had with Eternal. The tools were all there. Except for the dash and meat hook. Granted, those two things are fucking amazing, but when I recommend Doom Eternal to someone, those two things aren't the reason why. The reason I love Doom Eternal isn't the dash, it isn't the meat hook. It isn't the fact that you blow a hole into the surface of Mars. It isn't because the Slayer and the UAC hologram lady are thick as hell.
Damn, girl.
These things are great, obviously, but they're skin deep. The reason I put an embarrassing amount of time into this game is because it literally doesn't allow me to not have fun. I know I got some Far Cry fans in my massive fan base who may have had a bunch of fun with Far Cry 5. Maybe they resent the fact that I spent 4 minutes grinding its face into the dirt and saying that the gameplay was a mess. That's because Far Cry 5 has so many ways to play it, and it may just be that the way that I chose to play it was boring.
It's interesting, it happens with a lot of games where like, you and I don't seem to have the same experience with a game. You're like, what the hell? So, when I looked at some of the footage, or like even that Polygon footage where it's like, Polygon can't do. Yeah. The thing is, like, that's just a player playing the game. Like, if that footage doesn't look great, whose fault is that? Is that their fault or our fault? Like, how come that person was able to succeed playing that way? Like, with one gun, missing 80% of the time, and the game should have killed that person, you know, to corral them into playing it the fun way, the right way. What we kind of noticed was that if you were a skilled FPS player and you picked up Doom 2016, you naturally fell into what we call at the studio like the fun zone, where you're weapon switching and moving and glory killing and managing resources. You're doing all these good things and it feels good. Yeah. If you're not that good at FPS, there were too many unplanned for exploits.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
This man, this beautiful man, and every other talented and hardworking member of id Software, because games are a collaborative art and I should really stop jerking off just one guy when everyone there deserves a few good tugs, didn't give me what I wanted. They had the balls to tell me that I'm an idiot, and I don't know what I want. They didn't give me a bunch of okay ways to play the game because they were afraid to dictate to the player the proper way to play. Most games give you a million ways to just kill enemies, but Doom Eternal feels more like a city simulator or a strategy game than a shooter. Because you aren't just clicking on the enemies, you're managing a myriad of resources at once and trying to find the right balance to succeed. The game gives you a million ways to manage your health, ammo, armor, and enemies. Why? Because doing this in a game is way more fun than it sounds. I mean, what is a game? A miserable little pile of decisions. I often feel that big games forget this. Games are, at least to me, at their best when they're having you make difficult decisions. Most games ask the question, how are you going to kill all these guys? This isn't inherently an uninteresting question, but when there's 80 different answers and they all work, then the question becomes meaningless. Having to constantly make decisions is engaging. I make more decisions per minute in Doom Eternal than in any other game, and these decisions matter because if I make the wrong one, I don't just not have fun. If I use the wrong tool for the job, the game will kill me. It will not allow me to do something not fun in the name of player freedom. I'll die, I'll get frustrated, but I'll learn. I will get back up, I will try again, and I will succeed because that's what a game is. You may like sandboxes, you may just want a playground, but me? I want games. I want complex and thrilling systems designed by people with confidence.
Super Shotgun was kind of the solution to everything, you know? I'd be lying if I said that was part of the plan. Now, it's fun to weapon switch and use different weapons and do all these things, so good players didn't really play that way.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
The game is fun. The game is a battle. If it's not fun, why bother? If it's not a battle, where's the fun? It's a test that you pass or a quest that you fail. Fun and battle always locked together. But the game is also something else. It's a journey, a passport to new worlds, a look, a feel, an exploration. But in the end, it's not just where you can take your game. It's where your game can take you.
Where does Doom Eternal take you? It takes you to the fun zone, and it doesn't let you out.